Hi, Tony and I want to welcome you to our study today. We're looking at 1 Corinthians chapters 1 and 2. And our thoughts are going to be around wisdom, which I'm going to call the organizing principle of life, because that's really what Paul was talking about here. The church in Corinth was outnumbered. They had about 100 or so people, members, and the city of Corinth had between 70 and 80,000 people. And so they were influenced by that mass number of people to adopt their organizing principles of life. So if we were a man on the street giving an interview, we might ask people, how do you organize your life? And they would say, well, might makes right. Or they might say, the ends justify the means. And certainly they would say, those eloquent speakers who speak all around in our various symposiums, they have the wisdom. We order our lives by what they have to say. Or certainly they would say, those people who are prominent and respected in our community, they must know how to live because they have become so prominent and well respected. On the other hand, Jesus did not teach any of the things I talked about. What Jesus taught was self-giving love, as defined by the cross, was God's wisdom or God's way to organize your life. Obviously, those people didn't agree with it. Tony's got a verse for us.
1 Corinthians 1:18. He wrote, "The message about the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved is the power of God."
The Greeks and the Romans would have thought it totally off the chart to believe that a god could be killed by an army. And the Jews stumbled over the idea because their Messiah was supposed to conquer the Romans, not be crucified by him. Paul, in turn, saw God's wisdom in this. It was a wisdom of self-giving love that began when Jesus came to earth and lived all the way through the resurrection and the ascension into heaven. Self-giving love. But how could he convince us? How could he convince us in 2021? How could he convince them in 50 AD when the whole world thinks differently? Well, that's why he gave us this message. Let's listen to it and try to apply it.
1 Corinthians 2:6. Yet among the mature we do speak wisdom, though it is not a wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age who are doomed to perish.
The wisdom is the organizing principle of life, and that wisdom is that Jesus Christ and his cross is the way for us to live too. Paul has a word in there we need to see. It's the word mature. Mature Christians can receive it. Unfortunately, immature Christians can't. Immature Christians will listen to the stuff of the world and say, well, that's bound to be right. Mature Christians will say, Jesus is the answer.
1 Corinthians 2:7-8. But we speak God's wisdom, secret and hidden, which God decreed before the ages for our glory. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory.
If we're following the rulers of this age, those who are prominent, those who are important, those who are great speakers, and so on, we must know that only by human wisdom, human intellect, can we understand God's organizing principles. On the other hand, if we receive revelation from God, God will show us the secret to there really is life in living the way Jesus lived, self-giving love.
1 Corinthians 2:9. But as it is written, what no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the human heart conceived, what God has prepared for those who love him.
This is one of my favorite Bible verses, and I often use it in funerals to talk about heaven. We can't conceive how great heaven is, and that's true, but the real meaning is God's revelation about how to order your life. The only way to understand how to order your life is for God to reveal to us. And it's not achieved by intellect or by study. And I read lots of books, but that's not how you get God's wisdom. The way you get God's wisdom is you love him. He said it is what God has prepared for those who love him.
1 Corinthians 2:10-11. These things God has revealed to us through the Spirit. For the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. For what human being knows what is truly human, except the human spirit that is within? So also no one comprehends what is truly God's, except the Spirit of God.
Just real simple. A human being, Tony can't read my mind. She can't do an MRI on my mind and find out what I'm thinking, but I can know what I am. Same way with God. The way we know what is on God's mind is by looking to the Spirit. But by God's grace, He is willing to reveal to us the very character and the qualities that define His essence. What are they? They're found in the life of Jesus. Self-giving love. That is the ordering principle of Christ and how He lives, and He wants us to have that too, and He will reveal that to us.
1 Corinthians 2, 12 through 14. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit that is from God, so that we may understand the gifts bestowed on us by God. And we speak of these things in words not taught by human wisdom, but taught by the Spirit, interpreting spiritual things to those who are spiritual. Those who are unspiritual do not receive the gifts of God's Spirit, for they are foolishness to them, and they are unable to understand them because they are spiritually discerned.
If we understand what Tony just read, if we understand that, we will understand the book of 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians. We will also understand God's ordering principle for our lives. If we are looking to the world system, the system that says might makes right and the ends justify the means, and the best speaker on YouTube or TV has got to be the wisest, or the people who have the most prestige, they surely have something to teach us, and they probably all have something to teach us. But we will really only get what God has to teach us as He reveals it to us. And what is His wisdom? The root of His wisdom, the way He ordered His life, is self-giving love, identified with the cross of Christ. Jesus lived a cross life. He died a cross life, and He wants us to do that too. That is so key.
1 Corinthians 2, 15 through 16. Those who are spiritually discern all things, and they are themselves subject to no one else's scrutiny. For who has known the mind of the Lord, so as to instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ.
I just want to note that verse, two things. One is God reveals to us things to us through His Spirit. Paul talks about that all through here. But he also reveals things to us through the Scriptures. Paul frequently turned to Moses and the prophets. In this case, it was Isaiah, to just put an exclamation point on what he is saying. So what I would encourage you to do is to pray through what we've talked about today. I know it's challenged me a whole lot. It is so easy to be influenced by the world, but we need to love God and seek the direction of the Spirit to somehow get to a place where we live a life like Jesus, self-giving love defined by the cross. God bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.